Hi everyone, and welcome to the presentation for Phylum Arthropoda. In this video, we're going to talk about the general adaptations of arthropods. You'll learn more about several subphyla throughout your exploratory work. So let's get something out of the way here. Phylum Arthropoda is massive, like more than 1 million named species massive. We'll cover only the basics as a requirement of the course. However, I can share some additional courses and resources with you if you want to study more about the most diverse phylum. Arthropoda means jointed foot, which is a fitting name as you will see with all of its various appendages. Zoologists estimate that there are maybe as many as 30 to 50 million species that have still yet to be described. All of the arthropods are multicellular, eukaryotic heterotrophs. Additionally, they are triploblastic coelomates that exhibit metamerism, a jointed exoskeleton, and a ventral nervous system. On this slide, we can see a wide array of different body plans in the arthropods. In the top left and moving right and down, we have the extinct trilobites and sea scorpions. In the second row are the more familiar terrestrial scorpions, crabs, centipedes, and lastly, we have butterflies. Arthropods are famous for metamerism and tagmatization. We introduced the idea of metamerism in phylum Annelida, but tagmatization, or the specialization of segments, is super noticeable here. This image is showing a generalization of the different tagmata which can be specialized for sight, movement, or reproduction. The areas in red/orange represent the head, that yellow area represents the thorax, and the blue represents the abdomen. Many arthropods will exhibit fusions or modifications of these body segments. So just be mindful of the nomenclature and proportion may be variable between groups. The exoskeleton is going to provide arthropods with a neat balance of protection and support. The exoskeleton is produced by epithelial cells and comes in multiple layers. Modified sense organs such as eyes, antennae, or general sensilla penetrate out through the exoskeleton, allowing the animal to still perceive its environment in a startlingly diverse number of ways. Notice that the exoskeleton is not a single sheet. Rather, it is jointed, which allows movement without compromising too much strength. The jointed appendages come in all sorts of shapes and sizes, and honestly, we could spend 15 minutes talking about the general array of structures in insects alone. Let's take a quick look at some now. These appendages are going to be found in the thorax, which is specialized for movement. On the top left, we see the hind leg of the grasshopper modified for jumping. The top right shows a typical insect walking leg. The bottom left shows the pinching caliped of a crayfish or lobster, and lastly, the foreleg of a praying mantis, which is modified for catching and holding prey. Arthropods belong to the cladic Dicozoa, which is molting. The exoskeleton is great for protecting the animal, but not so great for growing. Arthropods get around this through the process of ecdysis, which is the shedding of the exoskeleton, allowing the animal to expand and grow before the new exoskeleton hardens. Here we can see a crab going through that process of ecdysis. Among their other amazing adaptations, arthropods also have an amazingly complex nervous system. They have a central nervous system that runs ventrally and culminates in an anterior brain. This nervous system is going to be running on the opposite surface as ours. Our nervous system runs on a dorsal surface. Theirs runs on their ventral surface. Arthropods are also coelomates. Their coelom is, however, reduced and exists around the gonads and excretory structures. We'll talk more about this later. Arthropods, like most mollusks, are going to have an open circulatory system. Their version of blood, called hemolymph, collects in sinuses called the hemocoel, which is going to be facilitating nutrient distribution and gas exchange to nearby tissues. As we explore the various subphyla of arthropods, mouth parts are going to be among the most interesting adaptations that arthropods are going to utilize to mechanically break down or absorb food. Adaptations specialized for chewing, piercing, sucking, sponging, or siphoning food will be explored more as we learn about the hexapoda. Like we saw in previous animals, arthropods are going to have specialized digestive structures that facilitate chemical and mechanical breakdown of food to prepare it for absorption. Malpighian tubules are specialized structures that remove solutes and excess water from the hemolymph that helps to maintain osmotic balance inside of the animal. The Malpighian tubules are a major component of the excretory system. The last topic to talk about here is metamorphosis. Metamorphosis is essentially the changing of a juvenile form into a different adult form. Incomplete or hemimetabolous metamorphosis is the transformation between a nymph that looks like a smaller, wingless version of the adult into a larger, reproductively viable adult form. Take a look at the picture of the grasshoppers down in the bottom left. Complete or holometabolous metamorphosis is probably the form that you think of when you think of metamorphosis. In this strategy, the larva goes through a pupation that results in a radically different adult form. In the case of beetles and butterflies, these can be seen, the beetle at least can be seen in the bottom right. We'll talk more about the butterfly later on in the presentation. The benefits of metamorphosis vary between species, but a large advantage is dispersal and reducing competition between larval and adult body forms. And this is a good place for us to stop. In our next lesson, we're going to talk more about the evolutionary comparisons between arthropods, as well as discussing a little bit more detail on some of the topics we looked at briefly today. And I'll see you next time.